Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, the US Supreme Court moves to strike down Roe v Wade, the landmark ruling that grants protection to abortion rights across America. The decision set to provoke national outrage. Meanwhile, an American tourist who needed an emergency abortion found herself stuck in Malta, where the procedure is illegal. I'll be talking to Dr. Isabel Stabile, a Maltese pro-choice gynaecologist, about the situation for women living in the only EU nation to ban abortion under any circumstances. And a historic first for Colombia, which now has its first ever black female vice president. But first, the US Supreme Court has overturned the historic 1973 Roe v Wade ruling that guarantees an American woman's constitutional right to an abortion. The move is set to provoke national fury in a country already polarised over the issue. Meanwhile, a new study from the University of California has found that more than a quarter of abortion clinics in the US would shut down if the landmark ruling was overturned. In this extract from the France 24 Reporters programme, a sense of what could be in store for millions of American women has already been experienced in Texas with its tough anti-abortion laws.
For many months, the family planning clinic in Houston has been empty. The staff now helps patients travel to other states.
Since this law has gone into effect, a lot of times we're saying no to people and having to help them get out of state.
Patients have been forced out of these clinics since the introduction of the law SB 8. Nicknamed the Heartbeat Act, it bans abortion as soon as a heartbeat is detected, which is around 6 weeks, when the majority of women don't even know they are pregnant.
And what you're seeing on the ultrasound machine is a flickering of some cells that eventually become a heart, but it's not a fully functioning heart or anything like that. But this law says that if that's found on an ultrasound on the day of your abortion, you're not allowed to have the abortion in Texas. And it's really, really sad. It's really unfortunate for people to hear that news when they're so close to getting the care that they need.
Of the 40 abortion clinics in Texas, only about 20 are currently open. And evangelists are determined to completely ban abortion. They are using Texas as a testing ground for their most conservative ideals. Mark Lee Dixon is at the forefront of that testing. The 36-year-old pastor participated in the development of SB 8, a powerful law because it bypasses the justice system by giving power to citizens.
The private enforcement mechanism says that the individual citizens can file a lawsuit against the abortionist and anyone who aids and abets the abortionist for the death of the unborn child.
If a person is convicted, the informer receives $10,000. Mark has adopted this same principle, but at a local level. For the past 2 years, he has traveled the country from city to city to encourage local municipalities to pass laws to completely ban abortion.
Centerville has passed it, Leona has passed it, and hopefully tonight, Marquette will pass it. These ordinances outlaw abortion from the moment of conception, while Senate Bill 8, the Heartbeat Act, prohibits abortion after a detectable heartbeat.
On all fronts, the anti-abortion movement is gaining ground in the United States.
Not just today, but every day.
And after taking abortion rights for granted for many years, Democrats are fighting back. With 61% of the population in favor of legalized abortion, Democrats hope to mobilize those Americans for the midterm elections coming up in November.
Now, with the US Supreme Court decision to revoke Roe v Wade, here in Europe, a pertinent reminder that abortion rights are not available everywhere. Malta is the only country in the EU to ban abortion under any circumstances. As a result, an American woman and her partner found themselves in an invidious position on the Mediterranean island. The couple were on holiday in Malta when Andrea Prudent, who's 16 weeks pregnant, started losing blood. She was told her pregnancy was no longer viable. But the baby's heart was still beating, and in Malta this means that by law doctors cannot end the pregnancy. So they were left waiting for a week before getting the all clear to be medevaced. Joining me now from Valletta in Malta is Dr. Isabel Saptilli, a pro-choice gynaecologist. Thank you very much for your time. First of all, what is your reaction to the Roe v. Wade being overturned in the US? Should we be pessimistic as a result about abortion rights for women across the world?
We absolutely should. The reversal of Roe v. Wade is a negative influence for the rest of Europe. In fact, to paraphrase one of my colleagues, Mara Clark of the Abortion Support Network, in fact, Europe is one election away from a very similar situation across the European Union. So yes, this is a very serious and profound consequence.
Now, coming back to this story in Malta, this American woman's situation is a salutary reminder that even as tourists, women can be impacted by harsh abortion restrictions at any time.
Absolutely. I hate to say this because this is a country I love and a beautiful country, but if you're pregnant, you may want to reconsider your holiday destination. This is a place where if you happen to have in this case, ruptured membranes, bleeding, loss of amniotic fluid, you will not be allowed to have an abortion because it is completely illegal under all circumstances. This is a serious situation.
So just explain to me what happens when a local Maltese woman wants a termination.
Well, she can't have one. She cannot have a surgical termination. What women in Malta do is they order pills online. And we know, and I'm actually quoting facts, numbers that are real numbers, we know that approximately one woman every single day orders abortion pills online from reputable places like Women on Web or Women Help Women. So women in Malta are having abortions, but they're having medical abortions. They are not having surgical abortions. Someone who has a fatal fetal anomaly, for example, will need to travel. She might need to travel to Italy or to France or to Germany or Netherlands, but some other country where abortion is legal.
Is there any sign that Malta will change its anti-abortion stance?
Well, I believe so, yes. I believe this case has, shall we say, fortified the general public. We have a lot of positive response to the judicial protest that was launched just a few days ago by 188 women claiming that their reproductive rights are being discriminated against because they are not being allowed to ask for an abortion. To add to that, a group of doctors, including myself, will very shortly be issuing another judicial protest against the government because it is not allowing us to carry out what we believe are medically indicated terminations of pregnancy.
Now, the President of the EU Parliament, Roberta Metsola, is Maltese, as is Helena Dalli, the EU Commissioner for Equality. So with that in mind, can the EU as a body exert any influence on this issue in Malta?
No, I'm afraid it cannot, not directly anyway, because health is not directly within EU competence. Having said that, as you well know, Macron has suggested that abortion should be recognised as a right within the European Union. And the Roberta Metsola has also agreed to sign the Simone Veil Pact. So making health a competence of the European Union would mean that every European country would have the same level of health care. Having said that, however, there is a derogation in the Maltese accession treaty to the European Union, which says that the EU has no jurisdiction when it comes to abortion. So much as we would like to see the situation change, I think we have a few uphill struggles.
Dr. Saptilli, it's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much. And finally, in a historic election, Colombia has picked Gustavo Petro to be its first ever left-wing president. But even more notable is Francia Marquez, the Latin American nation's first ever black female vice president. The 51-year-old has emerged as a powerful voice for marginalised communities and has vowed to tackle inequalities while in office, as Inka Oyatede reports.
Amen. In Colombia's presidential election, history was made twice. The country not only elected its first ever leftist president, Gustavo Petro, but with him, it also chose its first ever black vice president, Petro's running mate, Francia Marquez.
After 214 years, we have achieved a government of the people, the government of the ordinary people, the government of the nobodies of Colombia.
The 40-year-old knows exactly what it's like to come from the margins of society. Hailing from the region of Cauca, Marquez grew up in a poor family and had her first child at the age of 16. While studying for a law degree, she worked her way through university cleaning houses. Marquez's environmental activism started early. In her teens, she campaigned against the construction of a dam which threatened to upend her community in Cauca. Since then, her activism has earned her accolades. She won the Goldman Environmental Prize, the equivalent of the Nobel Prize for the Environment in 2018. Back where it all started in her hometown of Cauca, residents hailed her election victory.
She didn't let herself be defeated by any obstacle. Because of that, we will all move forward and live a happy life.
Marquez's humble beginnings may be a far cry from those who traditionally go into politics in Colombia, but the activist has become a national phenomenon. Her campaign spoke to those frustrated with the political establishment. The self-professed feminist didn't shy away from topics like women's rights, inequality, and race. She's become a powerful voice for Afro-Colombians, who make up around 10% of the country's population. Marquez's swift rise has not been easy. Throughout her campaign, she received death threats and racist insults. In office, she will lead a new equality ministry, mandated with improving women's rights and tackling challenges faced by low-income communities.
And that's all for now. You can keep up with the 51% on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. Plus, you can catch our previous shows on the France 24 website. So until our next program, bye for now.